Juni knocks gently on the frame of the bird's doorway. Sleeper, can I show you something? There is an excitement in her eyes that makes it impossible to say no. Juni talks most of the way down into the HABPEP facility, which is no short journey. She explains the scale of the data hidden within the station's mainframe, but also the issues with extracting it. And the HABPEP was first expanded when it became Darkside after the collapse. No one gave much thought to preserving the existing network architecture. She guides you through the substructure, picking a route through the maze of shuttered passages. They parasited their tech directly into the existing system, though now, thousands of cycles later, the two networks are totally unmatched, dependent on each other. Juni takes a series of sudden turns and realizes it's a very familiar route to her now. Messing with Solheim network means messing with the systems that keep the city going. She leads you down a long corridor, one you recognize as leading directly to the core. To explain. This meshing is not a good thing. She shakes her head. It makes Darkside brittle, fragile even. This place is on more of a knife's edge than anyone would believe. You look around. Certainly, the underside you are now traveling through looks cycles away from collapse. But all the data we've been extracting, that I've been archiving, Juni continues, it could help us here. It could help us clean up the HABPEP's systems. And we could turn this place into an archive so that others could come to learn more about the ruins Solheim left us. What is in all this data? Anything you can imagine, everything from corporate message records to blueprints, maps. Shakes her head. It's too much for me to process or understand, but thanks to our visit to the bunker, I have a plan. And something that will help me. You arrive at the doors to the mainframe and Juni suddenly stops. I spoke to Bliss. They told me... I'm sorry, Sleeper. I know you have a lot to deal with right now. Don't worry. Juni smiles weakly. I'll do my best. Juni hits a button and the doors hiss open. We both glide into the mainframe, its columns studded with blinking lights of active traffic. I got the idea from you actually, well, from you and Overseer. Juni glides over to the mainframe. You look at the mainframe and you see how that it is surrounded by new terminals and wiring, some kind of external access network Juni has set up. I've had to beg, borrow, and steal to get this going, but now we have safe access into the network, it's low risk. He moves over to one of the terminals. Not quite finished though. I recall the last time you were here, Lane, Overseer, the spear of white light and then nothing. You wonder where Overseer is now? They are anywhere at all. You remember how it felt being dissolved into the network, the vertiginous possibility of life without a body. Something flickers through the lights, a shimmer of movement like a fish beneath water. Sleeper? Juni breaks her train of thought. Are you listening? I was saying I need more data to finish preparing. Drugs. I know, we've already extracted so much, but there's often so little of it that's usable among the bit rot and corruption. Where from? Alien Glade is the place to get data. Apart from here, it's the biggest pre-collapse facility in the belt, and its hostile conditions means a lot of it is untouched. It's too much before we reboot, I get it. I just want to do something with everything we've managed to grab from the bunker and rags. Pulled it from the dark, expose it to the light. Juni turns back to face you. Well, this is what I wanted to show you. Looks away. It's very impressive. It will be when it's finished. Well, thank you. Juni turns back to the terminal, and before long she's fully engrossed. Imagine she barely even remembers you are here. You leave Juni to her preparations and start your ascent to the streets of Darkside, thoughts of Overseer flickering in the back of your mind. This has been In Touch, Sleeper. Seraphin turns and looks over his shoulder as soon as you enter the cockpit. He's sitting in the pilot seat, reading diagnostics on the console. They say they're ready for a reboot. Did they say anything else? You know, Bliss. Seraphin rolls his eyes a little. They worry. He turns fully in his seat. They're failing. Not bad. No, the reboot needs to happen. Seraphin speaks slowly, carefully. And I know the risks. I can see all that. I also know what happened last time. I don't want you to forget again, to lose all this. Gestures around the cockpit. Thing we've done. Still have it all, but I'll be alone with it. Seraphin looks down. It's not what I want. I'm trying to scare you, I just need to say that. If the reboot doesn't go how we want, I'll miss you. I'll miss all this. I will too. If you remember. Seraphim laughs shakily at his own joke. Seraphim turns back to his pilot console. Whenever you're ready, we can go to Flicker Row to Bliss. Seraphim pokes at the console in front of him. If you have things you want to wrap up first, I understand. I would too. Here. Seraphim tosses an object across the cockpit and you catch it out of the air. Take that with you and you go to Bliss. It's good luck. You open your hand and see a familiar metal disc, a coin. Its engraving rubbed away to little more than vague shapes and signs. Ella gave it to me. Now it's yours. You can't run from this forever, alright? He glances over his shoulder and smiles. Done enough, running away. Turns back to the console and returns to the diagnostics. You leave the cockpit and run a hand along the ripped metal wall of the passage outside. Is it really possible that you could forget all this? All these layers of memory of experience? Perhaps you can put it off a little longer, take another tour around the belt, tap loose ends, or perhaps you've had enough of that. I try to escape the inevitable. I try to recall how it felt when you awoke after Lane interrupted the first reboot. Even that is fading into hazy memory told by an unreliable narrator. Maybe this is just the next step then. One of thousands that put you here. First of the thousands more that will take you onward. You come out of your thoughts, still unsure, still aware that the decision of when to take that step ultimately rests with you. Stop! Shadow figure meets you in the ducking tunnel. No saboteurs allowed. I get. Seraphim glides forward and ruffles the figure's head. Still playing Sheriff? Nah, just bored. Thunder grins. What are you doing here? Glides alongside you and Seraphim ends to drift through the tunnel. Of your business. Seraphim pushes past. No offense, kid, but you aren't actually the sheriff around here. Pass through the familiar doors and back into Olivera. A surprisingly pleasant feeling, oddly, like coming home. You came. Cadence is there in the ducking concourse, waiting to greet you. I'm impressed. Seraphim's face immediately erupts into an uncontainable smile. Cadence! He turns to you. You two remember each other, right? Sleeper saved the colony. Cadence's deadpan answer seems intended to cover for Seraphim's awkwardness. Yeah, I remember them. The four of you descend down through the docking tower together and into Olivera itself. The colony looks much the same as when you left, though you pick up from Cadence that changes are coming. Carmen's back with a vengeance since Darkside. Cadence smiles. It's all about expanding and improving the colony, which is why I asked you to come, Sarah. The nickname slips out, but both Cadence and Seraphim clock it and glance at you. As you reach the core of the colony, you see the increased activity. There are more colonists than you remember, and they move back and forth with purpose, carrying crates and tools to gather less than usual. We need all the help we can get to sort the place out. Cadence notices you watching the stream of frightened people. Carmen wants to do some kind of event, an anniversary, I think, or the founders and all that. It's gonna be a big party. Larry grins. Can't wait. So, Cadence looks between you and Seraphim. What do you think? For some colony-mandated manual labor? She grins. Seraphim gives you a sideways glance, observing your response carefully. How could you say no? Do you have any? Oh, Olivera's independence. Olivera is in a new colony and is still establishing itself. It will need help, grow and thrive. So just, you know, work a little. Also terrible rolls, just saying. I think next round we'll be good to go. Next cycle. Another flicker in the dark before waking, the numbness that follows soon after. You wake slowly and stare out at the flickering stars and the distant rocks of the belt, while the thoughts of fear and panic wash over you. They pass like the soft dust of the belt, disappearing into darkness. You find yourself once more, as you do every morning, as you will continue to do cycle after cycle until you can't. You wonder what part of you has changed, what system is failing, your frame is silent, its complaints only felt in ambiguous sensations, which you seem random, predictable, but also inevitable. They will only increase in number until you reboot yourself. But you do not know what lies beyond that. At least the glitches are dependably familiar. Reboot is anything but. At 2. That's fine. I think this is the... Oh, what I'm going to do with that one. Anyway. This is also a good way to force you, because you will gradually get worse and worse rolls irrespective of your stats. Good to force the player that, hey, you really need to finish this. Oh, I really have to use all of the dice. Okay, fine. We'll use the 6 plus 2, which is 8. The past cycles in Olivera has been busy enough to take your mind off of most things. All the heavy lifting and manual work has been a welcome distraction from the looming spectre of the second reboot, and the good mood of the others has been infectious. Seraphin has been almost annoyingly upbeat, his relationship with Cadence the worst kept secret in the colony. Working alongside them, it's hard to ignore their deep feelings for each other. Xander has been happy because he has something new to rip Cadence about. Seraphin, with his self-serious manner, is an easy target to pranks, and for pranks and teasing. Xander also hasn't been able to stop talking about the party, which he already seems to have decided will be one of the highlights of this year. But now, finally, the cycle of the party has arrived. The canteen is done up with hanging glide strips, waving gently in the asteroid's microgravity. Strips themselves salvaged from the emergency lighting of wrecked starships. With the work stopped and all the colonists yet to arrive, you find the reboot filling your mind once again, growing like a shadow. Something on your mind there? The voice takes you by surprise. You turn to see a colonist you haven't met before, an older man in some sort of supportive chair, his hair shot through with grey and his face hollow. Didn't mean to startle you, my apologies. Pale eyes, can you? It just seemed like you might need some company. There's a strange look in his eyes that you can't quite place. He's looking at you like you have met many times before, but you have never seen him before in your life. Beautiful, doesn't it? Gestures to the canteen with its hanging lights, his chair propelling him forward a little puffs of air. The young people did such a good job. It warms my heart to see a light like this. Never thought this rock could ever be a home. He looks sideways at you. Have you lived here long? Oh, since the beginning, before there was a here. Miles back when there was just a wreck and a rock. But let's not chat about me, I want to know about you. Turns his chair a little. What's eating you? The way you were staring at those light strips, it was like they were about to leap down and strangle you. Chuckle becomes a cough. Time is passing too fast. I'll do that to you, that's for sure. Just run away from you. He holds up a shaky arm. Out on some unknown vector. It's just the truth of the world, and so many other truths rest upon it. We have our time, so some too much and some too little. But it's ours, and in the end, it's all we have to our name. The colonist squints at you. Sorry, I'm not good with reassuring people, I just remembered that, Miles. But I do like chatting. He looks back at the light strips. Really lovely, isn't it? Just beautiful. You look back at the light strips now, as the hum of people arriving filters into the canteen. There is something in the air, anticipation, the sense of a rare moment passing through, something to hold on to and then let go. The light strips really are beautiful. And turn back to the old colonist to agree with him, he is already gone. Hey, sleeper. Seraphin pushes through the now gathering crowd towards you. It should drink. There's a pouch of some amber liquid. Hey. Cadence comes up alongside you and hugs you with one arm. I wondered where you were hiding. She smiles warm at you with her infectious smile. Think about mentioning the old colonist to her, asking her about him, but Seraphin hushes the two of you. Armor is about to start. You follow Seraphin's eyes to the front of the canteen, where, above the heads of the now quite large crowd of colonists, Armor floats, surveying the room. We meet a cycle? Armor begins, his voice loud but clipped, formal in a way you haven't heard before. First remember, those founders of this colony, those lost and still with us. I will never forget the distress call that brought me here to the wreck of the Pilgrim Seed. I will never forget the scenes that greeted me, and I know some of you were there too. A rumble of acknowledgement moves through the crowd. But I also know that many of you weren't. Many of you came here to take refuge from other troubles. I'd like you to be able to remember, too. Glance at Cadence, her eyes fixed with incredible intensity on Carmen. They look wet in the glow of the light strips. There are thousands of refugees on the Pilgrim Seed, and too many, far too many were lost. Those from Ember's Step, Ember's Song, Ember's Hearth. Those from the Three Sisters, from Arlen's Eye. And they are not here in Olivera any longer, taking their own paths across the belt and beyond, but we acknowledge them all, remember them all. Lost and found, present and absent, because without them there would be no colony here. Before the wreck, Olivera was a handful of buried bays. A scrapper hideout, a place for old and tired mercenaries like me to hide themselves from the universe and forget what they had done. But when the Pilgrim Seed was wrecked, it brought the universe back to Olivera, and I could not hide any longer. Carmen stares out across the crowd with a hard glare. We built this canteen from the Pilgrim Seed. We built our homes, our farms, our refinery. We built our independence from their failed hope. Rustle of discomfort goes through the crowd. Carmen pauses to let this settle. We should not be ashamed of or afraid of this. We will remember this gift. We will build on it. This cycle and every cycle after, we will thank them with our actions. The crowd mutters agreement. Carmen takes a deep breath and straightens up. The weight seemed lifted from him, the weight of testimony. Now, here, in this room, with you, I will thank them with my laughter. Here goes up. I will thank them with my joy, with my celebration. Another roar of approval. We will thank them as loudly and as chaotically as we can. The room erupts, cheers and applause. Join in. You cheer and applaud too, you whoop, and Seraphine laughs nearby. Then you feel a pair of hands on your arm, Cadence pulling at you, grinning and crying. And you feel another hand on your other arm, Seraphine dragging you into the crowd. Suddenly you are in the thick of the crowd with so many bodies in one room, dancing and spinning and shouting, just like nothing you have ever seen. You notice the rest of the crew in the melee, a flash of a familiar face here and there among the massive colonists. You see Xander being thrown up in the air by a group of different kids of different ages, laughing madly as he bounces off the ceiling. And for the rest of the cycle, think about nothing else but the joy of those around you and the joy it instills in you. You wake up in your berth, the same light that always shines on the belt shining incessantly through the window. You are slow to rise, slow to begin this fresh cycle. At some point, Seraphine arrives back on the rig, with no indication of whether he slept or not. Find him in the cockpit, leaning in the pilot's chair, looking out at the lights of Olivera and smiling. Good party. Chuckles. Not sure I've seen anything like it. What's Cadence? Seraphine gives you a look. She's great. She loved seeing you. Let it all go. Smiles. I did too. Seraphine yawns and stretches. So, sniffs. Olivera's all fixed up. Colonists are happy. Blah blah blah. Where to now? Back to the. Don't you want to stay? Here? Seraphine shrugs. Still a bit too much of a backwater for my tastes. Prince. Cadence understands. Don't worry. Seraphine pauses a moment. Something passing over him that makes him sure. Heard from Tala. Looks away. Wellspring is still in transition, but the Union Council is taking over. Kirk got what he wanted. The blockade will come down soon, but I'm not sure I'm ready to visit that place yet. At you and smiles. When I come back to Tala, I want to have something to show for myself, you know? I get it. Family. Rex. Maybe once the reboot is done, once the blockade is down, maybe we can visit then. Seraphine takes a breath. We'll get there. Cycle soon. You aren't sure if Seraphine is trying to convince you or himself. He stretches, shaking off his feelings. For now, though, the world is ours to explore. Over have filled our fuel tank, so it really is up to you where we go. He gets up. While we are deciding, I'm going to go dig up some breakfast. He glides out of the cockpit. You take a moment to look out across the tiny lights of Olivera, dwarfed by the crater and the wreck that sits at its far end. Not bad. Not bad at all, either.